So the main reason for Shadrack Sibiya to be there was to go there and take the firearm that killed Senzo. See? Yes. And then the message arrived. Before Sibiya arrived there, the message was received by Kelly to say, please make sure the firearm is safe. Don't hand that firearm to the police or Phosphorus. Keep it until somebody is coming to fetch it. That somebody was Sibiya and Kelly.
Hey, Tada, we are back with another video. There was Honorable Advocate Tefo. For years, he's been telling us that Shadrack Sibiya has got some questions to answer in court, which is why he should have been arrested together with the other officers that were arrested this week. Remember that this week, about 12 officers were arrested, including the Ozempic lady, Brigadier Rachel Macheng, the one that's claimed to be Ket Matala's girlfriend. I think Sibiya has a much more serious case to answer than that lady. Sibiya has got more serious cases to answer. Remember that Sibiya, he went to the crime scene and conducted a meeting before the arrival of Mosiya, therefore contaminating the crime scene. That should be on its own a criminal offense that should put him in trouble for years. So now I don't understand why are they waiting to arrest Sibiya. Sibiya is the man that has got more questions to ask, to answer. You will recall that even Ulo, the police commissioner, Fanama Semula, he has been charged with something, but not corruption. But I think it's more about the police issue instead of corruption. They're saying that he should have been more accountable when it comes to the tender. But Sibiya has not been charged anything as yet. I think they should have done, they should have charged him, because anyway he was gonna get bail because he did not kill anyone. It's just corruption, allegedly. So Sibiya should have answered long time ago now. The mere fact that he had a meeting with Chico Twala and then he claims that his involvement in the case ended on the night Senzo was shot and unalive. It's a serious lie, because he said it in parliament. So he lied under oath, because he said his role in the Mayo case ended on the night that Senzo was killed. But we know for a fact that weeks and months after, he had there was this called the Constable Zungu. Constable Zungu was questioned in front of Sibiya, and that is information that we got from Constable Zungu, because when Zungu testified in court, he said Sibiya was present in one of his interrogation. So Sibiya, there, on that account alone, he lied in parliament, because he didn't mention that he did some interview after the day that Senzo was killed. So the mere fact that he said he ended his role in the case on the day that Senzo died is a pure lie on its own. Therefore, he should have been charged for that. And then the fact that he had a meeting with Chico Twala, it also raises some questions about his involvement in the case. Why would Sibiya meet Chico Twala? Why would Chico meet Chico? Why would Sibiya meet Chico Twala? Because these two are not friends. They are not colleagues. Nothing's linked them except the Mayo case. And if you connect the dots and see what Ulongo Twala is not being called as a witness, is not being called as a suspect, it shows that somehow, somewhere, Longo Twala has been protected, and therefore alleged that Sibiya is covering up for Longo Twala because of that meeting that Chico and Sibiya had. So, Sibiya usurvive kanjani for this long, it is a mystery, because by now we should have been arrested. And if the police are serious, they should indeed arrest him as soon as possible. And then he's going to have his day in court to answer, and also have a chance to clear his name, because now, if as a police officer you have got this allegation hanging over your head, it's like a cloud that remains, and we do not need police officers that are implicated in corruption. Ulongo Twala, you'll see whenever his name is being mentioned in court, Baloy tries by all means to move away from that, because he knows that Longwe is somehow involved in the case. Remember that the statement by that was given by Umlungihlope, who is the brother-in-law ka Sifiso Meyiwa, where he said, on the day that Senzo was shot and unalived, uTumela Madlala phoned him and told him ukuthi Senzo had been shot ngephutha idutshulwe ubani uLongothwala. That is a statement that is before court. Yet nothing has been said about the statement from the state side. It shows that the state is protecting uLongothwala at all cost. At all cost. And remember that Ubaloyi, he had this docket for about 5 years, and still Longothwala has not been charged for anything. But we shall see. But listen here to Umnumzane Usiyabonga Miya saying the same thing that was stated by Umlungihlope. Just listen and then we talk.
Police, my brother, amaphoyisa njengamanje kumele engabe abopha uLongwethwala for killing uSenzo. Senzo was shot by Ulongwethwala. There was no one who entered the house. Bese ebopha all these police who had defeated the ends of justice. Usenzo was shot by Ulongwethwala. Listen. A call was made by Tumelo. The first call when Usenzo was shot was Tumelo, a boyfriend Kazandi, of which he didn't know by name, had shot Usenzo, and then a phone was dropped. At the background, Ukeli, she was crying, and that information was given to the SAPS. Why they do not want to arrest Ulongwethwala, I do not know. You can quote me on that one. His boyfriend, Kazandi, at the time shot and killed Usenzo Meyiwa in cold blood. We were told when Usenzo was shot by Utumel, and then we made a call back. What do you mean? What's his boyfriend, Kazandi? Uzandi, the Kabana boyfriend, and he shot Usenzo.
And the
police were told that several times by the person who was called. So I don't know with Simanje these things.
There you have it. Ulongotwala has got a case to answer here. Longothwala has got a case to answer because now his name keeps popping up in this case, and Baloyi is running away from that fact. We were told that Longothwala was the first one to run out when the intruders came into the house. But now, I've got issue with that. Nkabi would not leave a witness alive. Nkabi would not allow him to run out. I'm sure that if Longothwala ran out in front of his Nkabi, they would have shot him to make sure that there is no witness that was left alive. But in this case of Longothwala, Luto. So clearly, the police are lying to us, because they are on a mission to protect those individuals that were in the house. They are protecting Ulongotwala because he comes from a powerful family, allegedly. We now know that Sibiya held a meeting in the house, and it is alleged that it is where the theory of an intruder was approved, where everyone in the house was told that you've got to stick to the story because it is in your best interest. That is why Utumela Madlala changed the tune after that meeting. Remember that the call that he made to Hlope was after Senzo was shot. Immediately after Senzo was shot. But hours later, he's saying something else, because now of that meeting with Ushetak Sibiya and then Gauteng MEC of Safety and Security. So Usibiya and Yabona Laguti, he had a huge role in this case because he was there. So the least that Sibiya should have done in this case was to provide a statement and explain why did he hold a meeting in the active crime scene. Because now, with that meeting being held at the crime scene, one thing happened. The crime scene was contaminated because people were moving up the house, moving down, up, down. Therefore, destroying the evidence that was on the floor, and they're also touching things in the house, the door, cupboard, and whatever that was there. So when Mosia eventually arrived at the crime scene, he arrived to a tainted crime scene, and therefore we cannot rely on the evidence Mosia because he did not collect the original samples in the house. The samples that he took were contaminated because people had already touched them. And to make it worse, when everyone else was in the hospital, the crime scene was not cordoned off. You see that yellow tape that you put at the crime scene to make sure that nobody enters the house. It was not done because these useless police officers were there. Remember that the EFF member of parliament, of which is Uli Matthys, said she arrived at the crime scene after 11 p.m. and she said it was clean, meaning that it was cleaned already by Ulo Umapiri, the one that is also should have been charged for defeating the ends of justice, because cleaning a crime scene is a criminal offense. But up. So Uli Matthys said in parliament that she walked in the house, the police never stopped her, they never asked questions. So you can see anyone in that house could enter and do as they want because the police were not in control of the crime scene. So clearly, I think Umthetho is the one that was the first one to arrive at the crime scene. Abomthetho and then the others, they should have been charged because that is not the way you manage the crime scene. You make sure that it is controlled so that evidence is preserved. But in the case of Meyiwa, that was not done. So I suspect once we're done with this case and move over to Docket 75, the likes of Umthetho and Osbia, they will be charged because now there is a prima facie case which the crime scene was contaminated because of them. They're the ones that did not preserve the exhibit crime scene as well as the cording of the crime scene. So this case that we are presently watching in court is just a joke because those accused that are charged there are not the ones that shot Senzo Meyiwa. How do we know that? Well, the DNA tells us that all 5 men were excluded from samples taken from the house. The DNA expert told the court that in order for the DNA to match, I think it was got to have to match up to 16 points. And in this case, there are only about 4 or 5 points that match, which means that the accused are not the ones that were present at the crime scene. But Baloyi will decide to overlook the DNA evidence and focus on the confessions because the confessions fit the narrative that he's trying to put. But those 2 confessions on their own also are a problem for the state. Why? Because they contradict each other. Remember that confession Kamusbi is mentioning Abo Makimbi and as well as the Buthelezi brothers. But Ilantolega Kantans doesn't say anything about those guys. Instead, it mentions the guys that are in court. So if the confessions were truly honest, then they should be the same. But in this case here, we've got 2 different confessions. They are different because they are mentioning different individuals. In this court, there's no Makimbi, but in the convention Kamusbi, we've got Makimbi, Marco Telis, and so on. But so those confessions, clearly on their own, they were cooked in order to implicate these guys. But Baloyi decided, no, I'm going to bring them anyway because I've got no any other evidence to link these accused. But we shall see. The case will resume on the 13th of April. Hopefully by that date, Shedrack Sibiya would have been arrested because he is indeed involved in the Meyiwa crime scene. But listen to what Sibiya said at the ad hoc committee, where he said his involvement ended on the night that Senzo was shot and unalive. But now we know that that is a pure lie because after a few months or years and so on, he was still involved. He was the one that was present when Constable Zungu was being questioned. Just listen.
I've never done anything wrong, and there have been many teams, more than 10 different teams that were set to investigate this thing. I have done nothing that can actually cause the matter to be not to be successful.
When Senzo Meyiwa was killed, did you went to the scene?
I'm actually happy that I'm being asked on the issue of Senzo Meyiwa, and it's an issue that I wish I could spend time on it to clarify, so that finally South Africans can get to hear the truth. And allow me, Chair, to deal with this Senzo Meyiwa issue. When Senzo Meyiwa, after Senzo Meyiwa was killed, I was the head of the Hawks in Gauteng. I was at home in Pretoria. I got a call from the acting provincial commissioner, who was General Musikiri at that time. I was at home at night. I didn't even know about the shooting. And it was around about 11 at night. And remember, Senzo was killed after 7:30, round about 7:30, early evening. And what I had to do as the head of the Hawks was to call a team to say, let's meet there. It's just like when a serious crime has been committed, we move, we go there. And what happened there is that as we moved, all of us, we got there. I ran straight to hospital. And simply because of the fact Senzo Meyiwa is a national key point, it's a national asset. It's not ordinary member where someone can say someone has been gunned out, then as the head of the house, I'll also go there. But because it was a national goalkeeper, we all had to react, and we went. Even General Musikiri, who was the acting provincial commissioner, we all went and we met at the police station, at the hospital. When I got to the hospital, it was packed, even in the passage, even in the ward where he was lying motionless, and everybody was crying there. Even myself, I could not make my way through into the ward. I saw him lying inside there, but from outside the ward. And then I realized that it won't work. I then said to General Musikiri, I will go to the house where now the investigation must start, because now the investigation process had to start. Now, for the investigation process to start, we then had to go to the scene of crime. When we get to the house where it happened, it was packed. Outside the yard, inside the yard, there was up and down movement in the house. I'm well trained when it comes to investigations. I'm 37 years doing what I'm doing. The very first thing is to take charge of the scene of crime. Mine was to give instructions and say, please, secure the scene, preserve the scene. This is a scene of crime. Now the team had to make sure that they remove everybody on site to outside the yard, so that it can be cordoned, the scene of crime can be cordoned. Remember, I arrived late at night when this thing happened, almost after 7:30, and the scene was already processed by the officials. It was processed, cleaned. The experts have done their work. Now, when I arrived there, I also found MEC Sizakele Nkosi Malobane and other generals were there. Now, ours, we come here as a fact-finding team. We come in here, we knock, we sit down in the sitting room. It's clean, there's no blood, there's no spotty that you can see, or everything is in place. And then we sit, we listen, we ask questions, what happened? This one explained, this one explained, this one explained, this one explained. This is the normal course of attending to crime scene. The MEC was there also, we were all listening. And then from there, General Musikiri and them arrived from hospital to join us. There were other generals, including...
They collected and finalized collecting all what they needed to at the scene when you arrived? No, they were still busy at about 2 a.m. when you arrived. Did you find a bullet in the door? No, you didn't. So you weren't involved in that. The reason I'm asking that when you got there, was the crime scene still secure when you arrived at 2 a.m.?
It was still on. The crime scene was
crime
still
scene
on.
was
It
still
was still
secure.
cordoned off.
So if there were two witnesses, well, at least one who was just an ordinary citizen who knew the family, and they arrived there and no police stopped them. They walked through the door, through the kitchen, turned left and went into the bedroom. No one asked them any questions and the scene was not secure. What would you say to that?
After the cordoning off of the scene, no one can cross the line.
But
so I
what
don't
if
believe.
there was, and what if it was I was one of that, or I was one of those two people who got access? Nobody.
Before the cordoning off of the
During-
scene.
yeah.
It's before the cordoning off of the scene.
The police, there were a lot of police there. And I hate to bring myself and make this matter about me, but this issue of the crime scene being contaminated is very serious. And I went there along with a friend, but that person will have to come forward. And we probably got there at about 11 o'clock, about 11 p.m. After we've been told. Nobody asked us who we were. We literally walked in. We walked through the kitchen. That place was big. There was not a trace of blood. Nobody stopped us. And we went to go and sit in the room with the baby and the kids. That's what happened.
I was not there.
I'm not saying you weren't, but I'm saying when you got there, the scene was secure.
Yes.
And nobody was allowed in and out. And I'm saying that I'm one of two people that I know for sure that went there. So that scene was contaminated. So you